I spent $700 on Dyson's newest Airwrap, so you don't have to. After 3 full days of intense testing, the results completely shocked me. We're about to find out if this is actually worth the hype or if Dyson is just charging more for prettier packaging. Here's what we're doing today. Dyson just dropped the Airwrap Coanda 2X, and it is their most expensive tool ever at $700. That is a full $100 more than their previous version. They are claiming it has twice the air pressure, 30% more air power, and it will completely revolutionize how you style your hair. But here's the thing, I have the previous generation Airwrap right here, and honestly, I am obsessed with it. So the real question is, can this shiny new $700 device actually beat something that I already think is near perfect? So I designed the most thorough test possible over the course of 3 days. Day 1, I torture tested 3 key attachments on a single section of wet hair. I did the ultimate side-by-side, battle curling one section with the old Airwrap versus one section with the new Airwrap, followed by styling my entire head of hair with a thin barrel on damp hair. Day 2, I switched everything up. Thick barrel, completely dry hair, mousse for maximum hold. Then day 3, I downloaded the app to test the ID curl feature. The challenge, this device needs to prove it is not just an expensive upgrade, but an actual improvement that justifies throwing away a perfectly good Airwrap. And honestly, I am already very skeptical because in my experience, when companies increase the price this dramatically, it is usually about profit margins, not performance. But maybe Dyson is going to prove me wrong, so let's find out. Okay, before we destroy my hair with excessive testing, let's talk about what Dyson claims makes this worth $100 extra. The biggest change, I would say, is this new motor that they're calling the Hyperdemium 2. This thing spins at 150,000 RPM, which Dyson loves to mention is 9 times faster than a Formula One car engine, which is a very cool fact, but what does that mean for my hair? So supposedly it delivers twice the air pressure and 30% more power than the previous generation. The whole device is also noticeably smaller and lighter with a more ergonomic oval-shaped base that you feel immediately when you pick it up. Each attachment now has an RFID chip, basically a tiny computer that tells the main device what settings to use automatically. There's no guessing if you're using the right airflow or the right heat setting. Plus, it connects to the My Dyson app where you can supposedly create personalized styling routines based on your hair type. Yes.
Everybody's copying this.
Yes. That was so shocking because my husband and I created an app called Hair2Hair that you can download if you want, where you basically tell it what hair type you have, what your hair goals are, and it will recommend hair care products for you that will work best for your hair type. Also, you can literally take a picture of a product and it will scan it for you and tell you if it's a good fit for your hair type. That's why my husband jumped out of his chair. And it's called Hair2Hair. It's available for iOS and Android, but that's besides the point. Now, here is where things get interesting with the attachments. The Straight and Wavy set that I'm testing comes with 6 attachments, and some of them are completely redesigned from the previous generation. The biggest change I would say is that they separated the drying and smoothing functions. The old Airwrap ID had this 2-in-1 Coanda smoothing dryer that could switch between dryer mode and smoothing mode. Now they have 2 separate attachments. So they have the Fast Dryer 2X for basic drying and this brand new Air Smooth 2X finishing attachment that honestly looks like a hair straightener to me, but uses air pressure instead of hot plates. But here is what is really significant. They completely redesigned the round brush. So the new round brush has plastic bristles instead of this bristle type, which are more flexible. It's also longer and a little bit thicker than the previous version. This is a huge change that dramatically affects how the attachment works. They also redesigned the paddle brush system. The old Airwrap came with 2 attachments. The new one only comes with 1 anti-snag loop brush that has these curved plastic bristles that are supposed to reduce snagging and be gentler on your scalp. Then they have 2 different size curling barrels, 1.6 inch and 1.2 inch. The interesting thing is that they went back to an oval shaped blow dryer design that is more similar to the original Airwrap rather than the more cylindrical design from the ID version. I am curious why they made this change, maybe for better ergonomics or airflow distribution, I don't know. There are also some smaller design changes that caught my attention. The curling barrels have these new rounded rectangular tips instead of the more pointed ends on the old barrels. All right, at $700, I'm going to be totally honest, this thing better be absolutely incredible, life-changing. Let's see if Dyson can back up these big claims. I'm starting with the most scientific test possible. 1 section of freshly washed damp hair, 3 attachments back to back to back. This is going to show me exactly what each tool does without any other variables messing with the results. Starting with the mysterious new Air Smooth 2X attachment. This thing genuinely confused me when I first saw it. It looks completely different from the old smoothing function. The ID version had this dryer attachment that could switch to a smoothing mode to hide flyaways. This new Air Smooth 2X literally looks like a mini hair straightener with these plate-like surfaces that open and close like a Venus flytrap. That's what I like to call it. But they don't close all the way, just on the edges. And here is what's really weird. So Dyson specifically says that you cannot use this on wet hair, which makes absolutely no sense to me since most of their tools are designed for wet to dry styling. So obviously I'm testing it on wet hair anyway because that restriction to me seems arbitrary. I'm using it on a damp section and I felt like it was definitely doing something. There's definitely airflow. It feels less intense than I expected. And actually I think it felt gentler than their Air Straight straightener, which is supposed to be their wet to dry tool. I'm genuinely confused why they would restrict this to dry hair only when it seems to work fine on damp hair. That's just my experience. Here's the real issue though. The difference that it's making is so minimal that I can barely see it. And I think this is where my hair type becomes really relevant. I have naturally straight hair that does not really have frizz issues. So for someone like me, this attachment feels pointless, but I can see how it would be useful if you have really frizzy or unruly hair that needs constant smoothing. The air pressure is definitely stronger than the old smoothing mode, and it's definitely more targeted since it looks like a straightener. I think if you have coarse curly hair that gets frizzy easily, this might be a game changer for you. For straight hair that is not frizzy, I just do not see the point of this. Let me put it this way. It definitely made my hair smooth, but not anything that I couldn't achieve with a blow dryer. Although I think it's a good attachment and I had no complaints for it, I can't look at it and think of it genuinely justifying the $700 price tag. But let's go on to the other attachments to see if those would justify the price tag. All right, so now I'm switching to the round brush attachment. And let me be very clear here, there is a huge difference between the new round brush and the old round brush. This is not a subtle change. This is a completely different experience. The new round brush, plastic bristles instead of the bristles on the old brush. And I have to say, this is a dramatic improvement in terms of hair health and damage reduction. With the old round brush attachment, I would constantly have issues with my hair getting snagged on the bristles. That feeling when you're using a round brush and your hair gets caught and you have to kind of wiggle and pull to get it free, that would happen to me all the time with this attachment. And it was definitely causing some breakage and tension on my hair. With these new plastic bristles though, that snagging is dramatically reduced. Your hair glides off the bristles much more smoothly. There's less pulling and tugging, and overall it feels much gentler on your hair. If you are using the round brush attachment frequently, I think that this alone might make the upgrade worthwhile. But here's the problem though, and this is a big problem. The new round brush is noticeably thicker than the old one. I don't have exact measurements, but it's definitely longer. When you see them side by side, the difference is obvious, and I feel like this thickness creates some real limitations for detailed styling. I tried to use this new round brush to style my bangs and it was completely impossible. It's too bulky to get close to the roots, I think, and it doesn't allow you to get the precision that you need for detailed work. A thinner brush, I feel, gives you more defined styles, more precision, and better control. With the Airwrap already being criticized for styles that don't last as long as traditional tools, it just seems counterintuitive to make the brush thicker and less precise. When I tested the brush on larger sections of hair, it created volume and body. But here's the thing that really frustrated me, and this just ties into my theory about the increased airflow throughout this entire device. Once I actually brushed out the style, the volume completely disappeared. So the new round brush, it's significantly less damaging if you use this attachment multiple times per week. The upgrade might be worth it for hair health alone. The new round brush is just going to last longer than the old round brush. I rarely ever use this. When I do use it, it gives me the result that I want. So I guess I would opt for the one that provides the better style. This made me realize that a lot of the impressive results that you get with a new Airwrap might be temporary effects from the strong airflow rather than actual lasting style. I feel feel like the powerful motor creates this immediate dramatic effect while you're styling, but it does not necessarily translate to longer lasting results. Finally, the curling barrel. So when I turn this on, the difference in power is shocking. The airflow is so strong that it literally grabbed my hair before I was even ready. I almost lost control of the section. It is way more powerful than my old Airwrap. I also want to mention these new barrel tips. So they're like rounded and rectangular instead of the old more pointed tip. Same deal with the old barrels, you just twist it to change the direction. The hair wrapped around the barrel incredibly fast, faster than I've literally ever experienced with the other Airwrap. The curl formation is tight, defined, but I'm already wondering if this is too much power. Like, does more power always equal better results? We are about to find out. The single strand test is already telling me that the power upgrade is real, but I am seeing some concerning patterns as to whether these dramatic immediate effects actually translate to longer lasting styles. And I am also noticing that a lot of these improvements seem designed for specific hair types, mainly curlier, frizzier, more unruly hair rather than straight hair like mine. Now for the test that I am most excited about. This is where we are really going to see if the new device is worth the upgrade. So I am taking two identical sections of hair, curling one with the trusty old Airwrap and one with the new Coanda 2X. Same technique, same timing, same everything except for the actual device. So let's just start with the old Airwrap. This is my usual routine. I know exactly how long to hold each section, exactly how much tension to use, exactly when to release. I feel like I've perfected this technique over years of use and the curl looks good. This is exactly what I would expect from my old device. Now the new Airwrap on the other side, immediately the difference in power is very obvious. The hair wrapped around so fast, I literally had to focus to control it. The suction is so strong that I am having to be way more careful with how I section my hair because it wants to grab everything. I'm noticing something that's bothering me though. These new curling barrels are shorter than the old ones. Even with my relatively short hair, it's not that short, but you guys know, the section is not wrapping all the way around the barrel. There's hair that's hanging off the end of the barrel that's not getting curled properly. I did some research on this and it turns out my old Airwrap ID came with what Dyson calls long barrels. These were specifically designed for longer hair and they were just the default that came with the old version. The new Coanda 2X seems to come with standard length barrels as the default, which are significantly shorter than the old ones. This is not a design flaw. Dyson offers both standard and long barrels, but it seems like they have switched to including the shorter ones as standard, and I suspect that over time they're going to release the longer ones with separate purchases. If you have longer hair, you might want to wait for the longer attachments to become available, or this device honestly might not work as well for you right out of the box. So both sections are done now. Right off the bat, the new Airwrap side does look more voluminous. The curl looks tighter and more defined. If I stopped here, I would probably say that the new device wins, honestly, but the real test is what happens over the course of the next 2 hours. So I set a timer. I did not touch either side for the entire duration, and I wanted to see which device actually created longer lasting results, not just dramatic immediate results. Now, the 2-hour update, the moment of truth, this is what will really tell us if the new device is worth the upgrade. Looking at both sides, I honestly cannot believe what I am seeing here. The side that I curled with my old Airwrap actually looks better. The curl has relaxed into this perfect natural wave. It still has definition, bounce, movement. It looks like a professionally styled curl that has been lived in for a couple of hours. The side I did with the new Coanda 2X honestly looks deflated and a little bit lifeless. The curl has fallen out more. It looks less polished, less intentional. This is completely the opposite of what I would have expected from a device that is supposed to be more powerful and create longer lasting results. I think what happened is that the new device is so powerful that the immediate results are so dramatic that you feel like you can release the curls sooner than you normally would. But with the old device, I feel like I naturally hold the sections longer because the results build more gradually. And I think the longer hold time with the heat is what actually sets the curl properly. And this is honestly shocking for me and not what I wanted to find at all after spending $700 at this point in the video. Okay, so keep watching because maybe I was completely wrong about how to use the new device. maybe the power requires a totally different approach. Then I styled my entire head with the smaller 1.2 inch curling barrel on damp hair. Right away, the shorter barrels are causing problems. What normally takes me about 20 to 25 minutes is clearly going to take me longer because I am having to use smaller sections to get full coverage on each piece of hair. But I do have to admit the power is incredible, okay? It lives up to the hype. With the new device, I can literally just turn it on, bring it close to my hair, and it grabs the section automatically, and that is actually pretty cool when your hair is properly sectioned. It does become a problem though when you don't have clean sections because it is going to grab sections that you don't want it to grab, which is going to mess up your overall style. I worked through my entire head and the results were looking similar to what I would typically get with my old Airwrap, maybe slightly more volume initially, but I think overall it just pretty much looks the same. The main difference I would say is that it took me twice as long because of the shorter barrels requiring smaller sections. I think so far the faster styling claim is not holding up because while individual sections curl faster, you need more sections to cover the same amount of hair. So I wanted to test the one area where the device might actually justify the price: drying speed, because if it can significantly cut down my routine time, that could be very valuable. So I sectioned off 2 identical areas of freshly washed hair. I timed how long it took to rough dry each section, one with my old Airwrap using the regular dryer attachment and one with the Coanda 2X using the fast dryer 2X. So I started a timer and this definitely shocked me. The difference is dramatic. The new Airwrap is drying hair significantly faster. We are talking like a 30 to 40% reduction in blow dry time. If you have thicker long hair, this is going to save you serious time in your routine. I think the airflow is just stronger and it's moving water out of your hair faster. It's just that simple. I also think unlike a lot of blow dryers that are really high powered, that feel harsh and damaging, this still feels relatively gentle even at the high power. I think that's one improvement that literally anyone would appreciate regardless of your hair type. But here's the problem for me. Any time that you actually save in the drying phase, it gets completely eaten up by the shorter curling barrels requiring smaller sections and more passes. For me, the overall routine time actually ended up being the exact same, just with the time distributed differently. I changed everything on the second day. I used a thicker 1.6 inch barrel, starting with completely dry hair instead of damp, and using mousse for maximum hold. This should be the absolute best case scenario for the Airwrap to prove itself. I know everyone says to use the Airwrap on wet hair, but I've just found that the curls look a million times better when I do it on dry hair. I get more longevity, bounce, volume. The mousse adds grip and hold that usually makes curls last for days. I used the thicker barrel this time to see if the size makes a difference in the result. I'm just thinking maybe the thinner barrel just isn't the best match for this motor. I worked with each section carefully. I'm trying not to be influenced by the dramatic immediate effects, really making sure that each section is fully wrapped, getting adequate heat time, and the results are honestly disappointing, okay? It literally looks like I barely did anything to my hair. The curl is only at the bottom. The rest of my hair looks completely untouched. It's literally like I took a curling iron and just hit the bottom inch of each section, even with mousse, even starting with dry hair, even taking my time and being really deliberate with my technique. The results are significantly worse than what I get with my old Airwrap on a regular day. I think this confirms my theory that the increased airflow creates these really dramatic effects while you're styling, but they don't translate into actual lasting polished results. And then another thing I did on day 2 was I decided to just test this out on dry hair because that's how it's supposed to be used, okay? Whatever I want to say, you know, it actually works really well wet to dry. Dyson claims that's not what it's for, that it's for dry hair. I wanted to try it. Did it do anything substantial to my hair? No. Sure, it made it a little bit frizz-freer, I guess, but again, it is not something that I would say justifies a $700 price point. So far, for my hair type, I don't think that this is really the best attachment. However, if you have frizzy hair, unruly hair, this attachment I think would be great for you. Now, day 3, this is when things get interesting. I downloaded the My Dyson app and I connected the new Airwrap to test out the ID curl feature. And I have to say, it is actually really impressive. This is a feature that was available on the old Airwrap ID, but I never used it, honestly. The app has you fill out this detailed questionnaire about your hair type, how thick your individual strands are, whether your hair holds style well, and what your goals are with the device. I entered that my goals are to retain style, maintain hair health, and get volume and bouncy waves. And then there's this ID curl feature where you wrap your hair around the curling barrel, and the app actually provides precise timing for how long it thinks your hair should stay wrapped based on your profile. It automatically handles the wrap, style, and cold shot timing, basically like having a personal stylist calculating the exact sequence for your hair. But here's something interesting about the barrel tips. So I actually prefer the old barrel design where you just hold the little rounded tip and you just give it a slight twist to change the curl direction. I feel like with the new rounded rectangular piece, you just have to take more effort into twisting it. It's a really minor take, but I feel like the old mechanism felt more intuitive. It was just easier. Before I commit to using the app for my entire head of hair, I need to know if all this extra effort actually results in longer lasting curls, because that is what it comes down to ultimately. Yes, it's fancy. Yes, it's cool watching the app control your hairstyling, but ultimately, does it actually properly curl my hair and do the curls last longer? That is going to determine whether this feature is actually useful or if it's just expensive tech for tech's sake. Here's something concerning that happened when I tested it more extensively. I used the app to curl 3 different sections, and I noticed the section sizes have to be dramatically smaller than what I use with my old ID attachments. We are talking really, really small sections, which is going to make the whole process take significantly longer. The bigger issue is that when I bring the Airwrap closer to my scalp, and I'm talking like 1.5 inches to 2 inches, not even touching my scalp, the air gets so hot that it actually burns my scalp and my ears and my neck. I never had this issue with my old Airwrap. The app was giving me 6 seconds for the hair to wrap around the barrel, 9 seconds to curl on the highest heat and airflow setting, then 6 seconds for the cold shot. That heat intensity was genuinely uncomfortable. I did a comparison test, curling one side with the new Airwrap, following the app, and the other side with the old Airwrap, using the same timing and technique. The old Airwrap did not burn my scalp at all. Did not burn my skin. It was much easier to pick up and hold the hair around the curling barrel. I'm just going to be totally honest with you guys. Like, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, the old Airwrap side was much better or whatever. I honestly don't know. And like, I can sit here and give you all these little nuances in the sides. It just kind of feels like, because I don't have an immediate like, oh my God, yes, this side is so much better, I feel like they're the same. It just verifies my thought that the new Airwrap, it's not a bad product at all. There are aspects of the old Airwrap that were so perfect. I was like, I don't think that there's anything else that they could possibly do to make it any better. And I think I'm right. So this side, I did the new Dyson. Do I have a friggin' gray hair? No, my hair is just so shiny. This is the side with the new Dyson, and this is the side with the old Dyson. Both sides look good. I guess the new Dyson side looks a little bit better, I think. But at the same time, is the difference that strong to warrant purchasing the new Dyson if you already have the old one? I honestly couldn't see a significant difference in curl longevity between the two sides. I think ultimately the difference was so minor that I don't think it would justify repurchasing if you already have a recent Airwrap. Now, on this final day of testing, I decided to try the one attachment that I had been skeptical about, the anti-snag loop brush. Okay, this is a complete redesign of the previous paddle brush setup, and honestly, I wasn't expecting much. But here's where I have to completely eat my words. I actually tried the new anti-snag loop brush, and I was genuinely surprised by how much I liked it. I was not even planning to test it extensively because I figured that it just wouldn't work for my hair type. I feel like the old paddle brush never worked well for me because my hair would just fall out of it constantly. With the new loop bristles, though, I think my hair actually stays in the attachment as I'm pulling it down the section. It creates this nice little flipped out effect at the ends that is actually really flattering. I think it's because the curved bristles hold the hair better while still being gentle. Now, Dyson says they compress as you brush, which allows hair to slide off rather than getting caught. So if you want that smoothing effect with a little flare at the ends, but you don't want to risk the damage from a traditional round brush blowout, this is actually a really good alternative. It's not going to give you as much volume as the round brush attachment, but I think it's a much safer option that still gives you some styling. I love this attachment, and I think that it would be amazing for curly or coily hair, and surprisingly, it also works really well for straight hair from my experience when you want this like subtle flip at the ends. I think that this might be great for people with curly or coily hair. Now, for someone with straight hair who wants big, bouncy volume, it feels too restrained and it just doesn't deliver the same dramatic results. Is it less damaging than the old volumizing round brush? Absolutely. For like thin straight hair, I prefer this one, even though it's more damaging. Even though I guess the diameter pretty much looks the same. As a matter of fact, I would say that this one does look a little bit thicker, the old one. I think because the bristles are flexible with the old one, it just gives more precision. Having said all of that, once again, I think this attachment is great if you have really wavy hair, thick hair, coarse hair that would really just get stuck in this within one pass. After all this testing, I want to create a comprehensive guide to help you figure out if this device is right for your specific situation, because the answer is not always going to be yes or no. It honestly depends on a lot of factors. So if you don't own an Airwrap, this is the easiest decision. If you can afford the $700 price tag without financial strain, get this version. You are getting the latest technology, the best attachments, and you are not going to be missing out on any improvements. But if you're budget conscious, honestly, just consider the ID version for $600 or less. You are going to get 95% of the same results for $100 less. Now, this is where it gets complicated, so let me break it down by your specific situation. If you own the original Airwrap, 2018 to 2022, if you have curly, coily, or thick hair, this upgrade might be worth it. The extra power could help you achieve styles that were difficult with the original, and then gentler attachments are going to be better for your hair health. If you have straight or fine hair, you are going to see improvements, but they might not justify the $700 price tag. If you bought the Airwrap within the last year and you have the ID, I honestly can't recommend upgrading unless money is truly no object. The improvements are incremental and you already have most of the smart features. If you've had it for several years and you use it constantly, the round brush improvements might be worth it if you use this attachment frequently and if you have really thick hair, but otherwise, honestly, skip it. Right now, if you bought your Airwrap 3+ years ago, this could be a significant upgrade for you, especially if you use the round brush or if you've struggled with your current device not being powerful enough. Now, based on your hair type, if you have straight, fine, or easily managed hair, the improvements in this device are minimal for your hair type. That's just my opinion. The extra power just actually might work against you, and you are actually paying for features that I feel are designed for more challenging hair types. My recommendation is to keep your current Airwrap or get the ID one if you don't have one. Now, for curly, coily, thick, unruly hair, I feel like this device, in my opinion, was designed for you in mind. The extra power, the gentler brushes, gentler smoothing attachments, they all could be game changers for your hair type. I feel like my recommendation is if you can afford it, the upgrade is probably worth it. Now, for damaged or fragile hair, I feel like the gentler attachments, especially the new round brush, could significantly reduce breakage over time. My recommendation is it's worth considering if hair health is your top priority and style is not really your top priority. The Dyson Airwrap Coanda 2X is an excellent hair tool that is well engineered and innovative, but it's an incremental upgrade targeted at specific hair types and specific problems. If you have straight, fine hair and you're happy with your current Airwrap, save your money. That's just my opinion. If you have challenging hair that needs all the help it can get, this might be exactly what you've been waiting for. The question isn't whether this is a good hair tool, because it obviously is. It's whether it solves problems that you actually have and whether those solutions are worth $700 to you personally. What is your hair type? What challenges do you face when styling? Those are things to consider. Let me know in the comments if you're going to get this. I would love to hear if this sounds like something that would actually solve your specific hair problems or if you're better off sticking with what you already have. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.